Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry, but apparently CNN keeps putting some volume here on some ads, so I'll have to knock that off. All right. My apologies, folks. Welcome to Divided We Stand. I'm Brian Weinstein, and it's about 10 minutes after 8 o'clock Eastern Time.
Can you see a clock?
Pardon me?
8:07. That's not 10
It's
after 8.
8:07. Look, I'm not into being pedantic.
What are you, like
being
a
very
Trumpian? You
exact.
just get close?
Pay no attention to the voice behind the screen, please. But as I said, welcome to Divided We Stand. We're on various platforms. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, and VK. You can join us on any one of them. And if you can't watch it live, you certainly can watch it after the show anytime you like, in pieces or in whole. We also would ask that you would become a member, if you're like-minded, become a member of the Reality Report, oh my God, the Divided We Stand group page on
Brian,
Facebook.
Don't worry about mistakes. At least you didn't reveal the Russian porn house that you used to visit all the time.
Again, pay no mind to the voice behind the screen. But again, we would appreciate your membership. We're a good group of people who are like-minded, and we have a lot of work to do. We are not monetized, so please, please, please become a member of our Facebook group. If you can't do that, we're on YouTube. If you have a YouTube account, please subscribe to Divided We Stand. Also, if you're in your car and you have the app for Periscope on your phone, you can essentially listen to our broadcast as though it were a podcast. So lots of different ways that you can watch our show. Well, we have sort of a new guest today. Our normal co-host has asked that he have his name changed and introduced as the person who has nothing better to do on Tuesday nights and would like to talk. Again, pay no mind to the person you hear behind the screen. And today is kind of a special day for our co-host because he has a new computer. And with the approval of his wife, this computer should help us have a better broadcast. We don't know. Dave had computer problems. At least that's what he said. So he had to purchase a new computer. And I've always tried to get Dave to have the best equipment. His wife is wonderful, but she has accused me of instigating various frivolous purchases. An example of that would be his 3 keyboards, which are in his closet right now, and I had suggested that he get a 4th. And Judy, his wife, has told me, 3 keyboards in the closet and they're doing nothing. He has a keyboard that has 750 sounds and he still doesn't use it. Well, let me tell you, I played in a band with David Price, and I can assure you that he used that computer in all 750 sounds. In fact, he used all 750 sounds in one tune. So there you go. But Dave, I am really, really happy to have you tonight, and I'm really glad that Judy allowed you to purchase that computer. So welcome.
Well, what I want to say, Brian, is very simple. Judy didn't know I purchased the computer. Hopefully she's not watching the show because this will be the end of my appearance on the show. Now, listen, I might have some problems tonight, Brian, and I'll keep referring to it. Last night, as you know, and I assume other people might know, I live in a place called Crystal City, the future home of Jeff Bezos and Amazon headquarters too, but it's 3 metro stops from D.C. And last night, this woman in D.C. just started screaming. And she's still like here. You can kind of see her behind me. And I don't know, she just keeps screaming, and I don't know why she's screaming, and she's waving her hands, and, oh, Sarah, So if I lose the sound, I'm trying to tune her out. That's really what's going on here.
Oh,
do you have any idea who that person? I mean, she looks a little bit like Melania Trump, but it's not Melania Trump.
Well, one of our Facebook members with a peacock says it's Evita.
So, okay. Right. I don't know who the hell it is, but man, she's loud.
Well, she has a big mouth, so she has to be a Republican.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Is that, I know that's a generalization, Dave, but do Republicans tend to be louder? I mean, every Senate congressional testimony or hearing, it seems like they're the ones who have the biggest bark.
I have a theory on that. Okay, one is a serious, and the other might not be off so much. Other serious theory is, for the most part, Republicans seem to be angrier. I mean, we're angry. Don't get me wrong, but I think we can temper it a little bit. Same voice I hear in my head. Welcome. Okay. Human love, solidarity. Welcome tonight. Um, no, I think, they're really like last night. The purpose of the convention, very simply, was to strike more fear in Americans and say, it's great now. Yeah, right. And but if you do this, it'll just be the hordes of the Goths and the Visigoths and the Angles and the Jutes
And the
Celts
Mishigoths.
and whoever the hell else is out there, and running all over you. So they tend to be very angry, and when you're angry, your voice tends to rise, right? And I think that's part of it. The second thing is, if you look, the majority of the GOP are old white men. And I'm getting to be an old white man. I'm only 68, but people older than that. And what happens is you gotta holler for them old people to hear, but you don't want to holler so loud that you kill them. This woman now, somebody pointed out to me, I really didn't know who she was. No, of course I didn't know who she was. And they said her name is Kimberly Gargoyle or something like that. I don't know. But she has some connection with Donald Trump Jr. Now, Kimberly, you really did scare me last night. Yeah, what was Junior? We're going to talk about that. That's absolutely, we are going to talk about that, Facebook user. Seriously, Kimberly, I want to talk to you for a minute. I know you think what you did last night was good. Good for the man you live with, good for the man you hope, I assume, will be your father-in-law someday. And I mean, probably you really think that your father-in-law, someday father-in-law perhaps, is good for the country. He's not, but okay, I got that. It's family. But Brian, I was thinking about this just before we came on. She said that she was a first-generation American. Okay. All right. Now, but her parents were from Puerto Rico. Now, the only comment I can say to you, Kimberly, and I'll give you the choice. I really will. I mean, I'm not going to try to, I hate when people put, it's this or it's that. So I'm going to give you two choices, Kimberly. If indeed that's true, that both your parents are from Puerto Rico, look, there's only two options with what you said last night. Either you lied because Puerto Rico is part of the United States. I know your future father-in-law doesn't quite get that, but you should. Or the second thing is, you're really, really stupid. Now, I don't know, Brian. That's serious. I mean, I'm not joking about it. I mean, they're the two things. So either you were lying, she was lying, and she was lying to make it seem like, oh yeah, I did that, or she was stupid. Do you agree or do you disagree? I mean, are there other options? Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. But I wish you'd stop hollering. But go ahead.
First of all, I did not actually watch the Republican convention going straight through. That's the first thing I wanted to admit.
Nobody could that had any decency or sense or intelligence.
I did watch Trump, but as I said before you started, it was something that does bother me is that they really do believe, in my opinion, that the louder and more dramatic you are, it's like theater essentially. When you watch these conventions, and it's very, very hard to accept. Yet, I dare say that it's effective with their people because that's the way they act on the streets. I mean,
but I think it's interesting. If you look at it from a technical standpoint, I read an interesting article today. Again, but they made a point that I think is something to. It's coming. My dream cabinet. Elizabeth's in there. Pete's in there. Couple surprises. We will reveal it the day before Joe calls me and asks me. No, I hope we do it, Brian, before he gets it. I'll tell you what, though, guys. If he does it and then we put on the show, we'll be 100% accurate. Trust me. Back to our, back to those loud Republicans and what's going on.
Right.
Again, I think it does tie in to this fear. And anyway, this column I was reading about comparing the Democratic, they weren't comparing philosophies or anything. They said the Democrats made a very smart choice, and they did. Very early on, they said, we're not going to be able to hold a convention, right? So we're going to have to figure out what to do. And that was pretty brilliant TV, what they did. Divorce of whether you like it or not or whatever. Now, the Republicans, look what they did. We're going to go to, what was first, Indianapolis, right, or somewhere? And then we're going to go to Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, and people don't realize, I mean, we put on this show like, what was it? Mickey Rooney used to say, hey, come on, kids, let's put on a show, right? And we got to do that. But we make a lot of mistakes and errors and fumble, and my tongue goes out. But last night, it did not seem that smooth. It seemed somewhat disjointed. And what I think Kimberly was doing, she was imagining, right? That might have been appropriate to do that with a large crowd, okay? You talked earlier about playing music. Now, I played a long time. You've played a long time. Here's just something for those who haven't. If you open in a club, you play softly the first set. Why? Not that many people there, right? And at the end of the night, you crank that thing up. What's the thing from Spinal Tap? You got, my amp goes to 11, And so one of the mistakes she made last night, I thought, and she wasn't necessarily the worst, but it was pretty weird, is that's fine if you have a crowd around you. But if you don't, you lower your voice, you talk, and they don't get that. So I think that was part of it. I wish I'd done this. We should have done this, group. I apologize. We should have had a pool, Brian, and take the exact moment, how long in before the first lie would be told. I did it. I clocked it in at 1 minute and 48 seconds. It was the first speaker. If anybody remembers, he had a haircut straight from the 1950s, some kind of student leader, I don't know. And he said something that, we used to have a saying in the news business. I think other people do. Like if you just hear something absurd, say, "God damn, that made me spit my cornflakes out." Like in the morning, when you hear something really weird. Well, this was a cornflake spitter outer. He said, if I get the quote right, if I remember it correctly, Donald Trump is the defender of Western civilization. Wow. Not, the defender of American democracy. The fact that no country in the world will have anything to do with him that was ever part of Western civilization doesn't enter in. Well, Russia was a part of it, but so it wasn't that long. I use my, you were joking earlier. Seriously, my wife's not happy that I got the computer. She understands, but.
Just wait till you get the accessories.
Well, I know. I told her that. I told her that on a walk tonight, and
she doesn't know about that, does she, Mr. Price?
No, she's she knows about it. I told her.
Okay.
But seriously, she's a great barometer because she's what I would call a quiet politically. She makes a decision. 99% of the time, it's pretty much the right one in
Correct.
terms of all things, but especially politics. And she has refused for 4 years, which is out of her character. She will not refer to Donald Trump by name. She just says number 45. 45, that's what she says. And so last night, I booked early. After your favorite politician, Matt Gaetz, I kept
Gates.
thinking.
Yeah.
What?
Matt Gaetz.
No, I'm Matt Gaetz. I change his name whenever I want.
Okay, it's Pants.
So right after Lance Reddick, whatever the hell his name is, from Florida there, the guy, right after Matt, what did I say his name was? Matt Gatorade, or I don't know. Anyway, what happens with Matt is I kept looking at his hair, right? And I kept thinking, oh my God, what if Trump wins and we have a choice? We either have to get Matt, what's his last name?
Gates. Well, the other guy, was this the guy you're talking about? He had an Eddie Munster type of hairline where it was near his eyebrow.
I can't even remember. It was all scary to me.
It almost looked like he had a full head of hair, but it also looked like he had a hair transplant in the front. It was very bizarre.
What's Matt's last name again?
Are you joking?
Yeah, I can't remember. What is it?
Gates.
Okay, Matt Hates from Florida there. What happens is the fact that Pat, oh Matt, I'm sorry, um, Matt's hair is like weird. And I kept thinking, you were talking about the voice. I think about the hair. The other two speakers that were sandwiched in between, what was a teacher uh, from California, I believe, and she was obviously a teacher who believes strongly in charter schools, which I do not. And then the third, my wife said, which described her actually, said, "My God, a living, breathing Barbie doll," and she was. I believe she was from Montana, and she had a business. It was some like cow post coffee or something like that. I don't know what it was. And it's. I mean, she was talking about difficult. And then she said, "I'm not afraid tonight to tell you that I got down on my knees," and I got really excited, right? And I thought, what's she going to reveal? What they do at Cowboy Outpost or whatever. And no, of course, she finishes with, "And I prayed to Jesus." So 4 speakers in, I was done. I said, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I did kind of want to do it, but I didn't. So, I saw some things today, and you look at the highlights. Somebody earlier said, and I think we probably should discuss that, Brian. I did not see it live. I have seen it. The question is, was Donald Trump Jr. on something? Now, who knows? I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to accuse him.
Junior, because he seems to be a very, very ADD, hyperactive type individual
Well,
anyway.
I
So
think I think the thing was what people were talking about was his eyes. What I would guess, and this is just a guess, I mean, the big thing was, remember when Trump first started, he was on cocaine, and I'd be very surprised if Donald Trump did any illegal drugs. I really would. I mean, I just don't think that's his character. Uh, maybe I can't even say it's an admirable thing. I do think there is some possibility that he might take Adderall or a derivative to give him energy. And then we could argue all night whether that's a drug. It's a prescribed. Who knows? I mean, we know that what did his physician say he was? 185 pounds of pure, uh, beautiful boy meat. Or no, I mean, the man's overweight, so there could be that. Um, and then everybody gets to tell, well, they say this, and it's not right, and you take the high road, and we can talk about that later. Um, the one that is kind of funny, I mean, even if you don't agree with it, there was a meme today that said, "Oh, poor Donnie Jr. He thought his dad said white power, or I'm sorry, white powder," meaning, and they showed him with the coke up his nose. Um,
I want to bring this one thing up, and I know it's been talked about a little bit, but there's one glaring lie that Trump continually talks about.
only one.
Well, no, but it's like a thread that just you just see it everywhere the last month or so, and it has to do with the pandemic actually. And Hal Sparks brought this up on the Stuttering John show, but I'd like to mention this again, even today. But yesterday, I mean, he was on himself on the convention, and he said that we've broken all kinds of records for employment, and he mentions the fact or the idea that there were something like 7 or 9 million jobs created during the month, and what an incredible number that we could reach that. When in reality, Dave, and I know that these are people who were out of work because of the pandemic, and they're now just slowly coming back. But you notice he said, Dave,
Okay,
what he's actually saying
right.
is not right.
Well, Brian. I mean, it's kind of what I said about Kimberly. I'll give Donald Trump two choices too. He's either a liar, or I'll give him a couple others. He's delusional. He is suffering from some kind of yeah. You know what? HLS, you've got a real point there. I don't know if everybody can see that, Brian.
Yes, they should be able
But
to.
I think there's, and again, there's a time to yell. Um, so I want to come back to that. Remind me, I want to come back to that. You just look, you look at Donald Trump. Look, there's only a few possibilities. Like I said, He's either a compulsive liar, which he is, but now we have to look for the reasons why, right? One is, suppose he can't distinguish truth for reality. I mean, seriously, suppose uh, he I ran across one politician in my reporting years. I'm not going to name. I could name him. He's dead. Mayor Pat Fiorelli from Vineland. He was actually a pretty good guy. He just facts didn't really enter into his what should I say, into his calculations. And so, for example, they were minor things. He'd call me up at the office and say, Dave, guess what? What, Pat? ABC just interviewed me for the Dandelion Festival. It was a really cool thing that he invented. It really was cool for Vineland. But of course, when I researched it, it was CBS. I said, not a minor thing, but if I'd printed it, it would have been wrong. So I have people like that, like the real facts, but not like Donald Trump. So I think more scary than Donald Trump lying or being delusional or being dementia headed or dementia there or any of the other things is the fact that people believe him. Now, throughout the entire Donald Trump regime, we've been we, meaning people, have been comparing him, to 1984 to Adolf Hitler, to Mussolini. But in 1984, basically, the truth was a lie and the lie was the truth. That's really what it was, right? Yes, I agree with that. But see, that's not disparaging because that's really the truth.
Just thinking maybe we could have you as the artist previously known as. But no, Dave specifically said, he kept repeating it. I want to be the person who has nothing better to do on Tuesday night.
Previously known as Dave Price when he actually did something on Tuesday night, which he doesn't anymore, except talk to Brian. And now, that's what scares me. People actually believe him. Is 1984 here? No, not yet. And I was thinking about that again today, and it passes through my head. Oh, Donald Trump's not Hitler? Of course Donald Trump is not Hitler. But as I've said for 4 years, Hitler wasn't Hitler until Hitler was Hitler, right? Donald Trump is on that same road. If it was anything, I mean, although I keep jumping because I'd rather answer these and continue my train of thought. I can always come back to that. Okay. The only thing I would say is, as someone who's had, as a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, I've had quite a bit of experience on both sides of that. It may be that they were partying a little bit and not that. It could have just been his eyes were kind of bloodshot. Could it have been he was sleepy? Could it have been he had a couple drinks too many? I don't know. Could it have been cocaine? Who knows? Could it just been he was revved up? I don't know. But the point is, I can't imagine what it was what it was like in their room last night. If Kimberly was screaming and he was doing that, wow, just a whole something else. But back to these people that believe Donald Trump. Now, Brian, I know you've had it. Everybody listening tonight, everybody who will hear it later, even if you're in Russia, it doesn't. There's not a person alive who's watched a Donald Trump interview, press conference, something, and heard him say, I'm making this up, it said, the room is green, right? The very next day, he will say, I never said the room was green. Well, I heard you to say it. No, I didn't say it. Now, at that point, if I heard him say the room is green, I'm going with what I heard. And of course, so the question is, how do those people who continue to support him, who hear the same things, they interpret him a different way, but they hear the same things that they do, what kind of credence do they give to their own thought process to hear a man say, or a woman, in this case, it's a man, say, the room is green, it's white. The next day, he denies saying it, and you heard him say it. How does one do that? And we could get into the long involved, which has merit, cognitive dissonance and bringing it in line all that. It's beyond that. It's to me, it borders on cult behavior. Mm-hmm. If they aren't a cult, they're about as damn close as you can be.
Okay, Dave, let's take a quick peek at some of the guests tonight. I think that would be worth it, okay?
Yeah, let's see who's up.
All right, first of all, you have Melania Trump giving an address from the Rose Garden, from
Rose Garden that she just
the new Rose Garden. So what do you think about
Stop there, Brian,
Melania?
just for a second. We
Sure.
want to do these. We'll do these speaker by speaker. Now, I ask everyone out there: is this good politics? Okay, Melania Trump, maybe meaning well, right? Says I don't like the Rose Garden, or I want to leave my stamp here, or whatever. And now, with all that going on, you're going to go out and speak in the very place that the nation is claiming to. I mean, what's up with that? Continue.
Okay, so let's look. We already have some issues. Number one, we have Mike Pompeo. You have to forgive me, folks. Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State.
I thought Pompeii was destroyed in a. Wasn't that what was that thing called?
Vesuvius?
A volcano or something? Or is that still
Right.
around?
Well, this one wouldn't fit in the volcano. His head's too
that
big.
one. Okay, I thought you were talking about that.
He's like Rush Limbaugh. He can't even get through the Lincoln Tunnel. But
Okay.
if we look at, first of all, Pompeo, he's in Israel right now. He's overseas, and he's giving a political speech. Now, that's considered a no-no as a Secretary of State. You should be apolitical.
Wow. I mean, I'm not making fun of you. I'm just.
So already, it's a bit funky. And of course, Pompeo doesn't care. Then you have a virtual psychotic piece of shit, Senator Rand
More
Paul.
specific. I see a lot of them in there in that list.
Okay, well, we have Rand Paul, a guy who obviously wouldn't wear his mask. We knew that he had COVID, but he's obnoxious as his father was. So that already, and he's a physician, and he was giving shit to Anthony Fauci. So he's an absolute lunatic. The only doctor he would be a witch doctor. Governor Kim Reynolds, I don't want to talk about her, but I do want to mention Pam Bondi. Now, she's the one who was part of the congressional hearing with the impeachment, and she's the former Florida Attorney General. Looks like she's had a couple of plastic surgeries, blonde, of course, like she would be on Fox, and she absolutely loves Trump. But she's the one during the impeachment hearings who apparently had some type of transactional relationship with Lev Parnas, who, obviously we're talking about an agent for Russia and an agent for Ukraine at the same time. So I have an incredible distaste for Pam Bondi. So she's speaking. She's slick. Now, some of these people, I am going to admit, I don't know who they are. Okay? You have...
I'm going to take a guess. Of course, we know who Eric and Tiffany Trump are. I'm going to take a guess. I don't know them either, Brian, but I bet you they're Trump supporters.
Yeah. Well, sure, because some of these people, first of all, I believe that Chris Peterson and John Peterson, I believe, are part of a large corporation, CEOs.
Called the Peterson?
I think they're with Metals, I believe.
Brian, I don't know.
But it doesn't matter. But you have basically CEOs and yes men and women for Trump there. And then you end up with Eric Trump and Tiffany Trump. Now, the one that I was kind of surprised with, and I'm going to get off the screen for a second, Dave. The one that I'm kind of surprised with was Tiffany Trump, because I thought that perhaps maybe she felt that she had been shorted by her father, so to speak, because she was daughter of Marla Maples. And by the way, I do have an anecdotal story from Ronnie about one of her friends, it's like one of those 2 degrees, not 6 degrees,
Right.
but 2 degrees, was in the same car with Marla Maples within the past week. And all she did was talk great things about Donald Trump. And I'm thinking, of course, I think Marla cheated on Donald, but we know that he would certainly cheat on her. But I just thought that was kind of odd that Marla's just glowing over her ex-husband, and now you have Tiffany who's doing this, and I would have thought that she would have had a distaste for him.
Tiffany is speaking tonight?
Tonight.
Tiffany, the singer, the one who had those hits in the 80s. That Tiffany?
I think Mr. Price, I'm sorry, Dave. The guy who has nothing better to do on Tuesday night must think it's Wednesday night.
Oh, Damn.
He's a man of mirth tonight.
It's Tuesday that we're on?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. People are watching. All 5 of them. Okay. No.
But do you find that a little bit odd? She never really has been anywhere, and all of a sudden she's there.
Well, look. Tiffany has done something unusual compared to Ivanka and Beavis and Butthead. She stayed out of the limelight. The big thing was she's a law student here at Georgetown, and everybody's, the old not People magazine. What's it? Like the Weekly World News or National Enquirer. Trying to get what does she do? What does she do? Look, a couple things. Do you really know? I mean, we only know what we see or what we hear. Donald Trump, I don't think it's true, but he may be an okay father. If you like a father who has lots of money and he gives it to you, if he does, he certainly has a fond affection for Ivanka, which borders on, maybe something, seriously sick or obscene. But anyway, and I also think, too, there's so much money involved here in the Trumps. When I say that, at least not what they claim they have, but, they have assets in it. So, is it just something you do for your family? Is it something that she's just going to do for herself? Does she somehow feel that by speaking for Trump or for her father, it puts her into the Republican camp? I mean, I don't know. I don't know, Brian. I mean, I'm not that surprised. But if you're going to ask me, did I think she would do it? I'd say I don't know. You know what I mean? So I think you're not off base by saying, you're surprised about that. What I do find you're off base tonight a little bit on, and I accuse my wife of this too, you're both doing, you almost have a sense of awe sometimes when you speak. Like Pompeo, that's not normal. You know what I mean? And that's all you're saying is true. There's nothing there but truth. But I think a great book. Yeah.
No, I just want to say, I'm going to put the brakes on.
No.
People who know me understand that I have a certain naivete about things. But I'd rather think of myself as somebody who just has a great, keep saying this word and I don't want to keep saying it, but I abhor, I was going to say distaste.
You went with a whore. What'd you say? What are you with Jerry Falwell?
Tonight. Okay.
What?
See, one meeting with Stormy Daniels, and look what happens to the guy.
No,
he gets
3.
off base.
I was with her 3 different times.
All right, but what I'm saying now, now I forgot what I wanted to say.
That's why
Jesus Christ!
You were saying you.
I just fell off a cliff.
You said naivete.
No. What I'm saying, I never remember. Don't let me forget. I have to keep it quiet, Dave, because I'll forget. I do have a certain naivete, but I think it's more that I demand the world be right. And I demand that people.
How's that working out for you?
Be true. It's not working out at all well. That's why I'm so frustrated. When I look like I'm in complete shock that someone would actually lie, it's because it makes me so angry. Because I have such great expectations about this world, and they've always failed me. Excuse me. So that's pretty much the real meaning behind my naivete.
And see, it's interesting. Maybe this is the sarcastic cynic in me, and I'm the one that sees life, rosier and optimistic, and that's the way I look at it. But I think there are people that lie. I mean, and you know that. I don't mean that. But I think what the Trump's regime has done, and I'm sure you've heard it. I'm sure everybody listening tonight has heard it. All politicians lie, and you know what? That's absolutely true. That's absolutely
I would agree.
True. Because you have to in certain ways. But Trump doesn't tell the truth ever. And that's why once I realized that, nothing the man says or does could I honestly say would shock me. Nothing. What does surprise me, quite honestly, is the fact that many prominent Republicans said, okay, we're throwing our lot in with this guy. And I think they were very short-sighted. I really do. I think Donald Trump, and history will prove me right or wrong, I think Donald Trump has hastened the death of the Republican Party as it is today.
Or just hasten our deaths, period.
Well, yeah, but that's another, I'm talking about, but okay.
Yeah, that's another story. But I would say that we're more likely to die from Trump than the Republican Party.
Who are the accomplices of that? Mitch McConnell's been a lifelong Republican, right? I mean, people like that. That surprised me. One surprise, not for the Trump, the Trump family. Okay, you know, they would if they weren't, they would be okay. They would probably be a better show than the Osbournes. And when I don't mean the Osmonds. They were an interesting family too. But Ozzy and his kids and his wife, and that was kind of an interesting show. And you're like, oh, I'll do talk, But Donald and family, so that doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that the haters would support him. It doesn't surprise me that the evangelicals support him. It does a lot of people. It isn't. The evangelicals, look, ladies and gentlemen, let me preface, I do not believe in organized religion. I do not. I haven't for years and years and years. And the reason I don't believe in organized religion is I don't think you can put rules on the spirit. And I also don't think you can let others put rules on your spirit. Now, some say, well, no, of course not. You don't murder and you don't do that. But the point is, I'm not going to disparage anyone. I accept people who go and believe in their religion and do good. Okay? And if you follow the words of Jesus Christ, you can do a lot of good. All right? However, let's take my new favorite fallen angel, Jerry Falwell
Jr.
Now, again, it was inevitable. Your boy, Christopher Hitchens, once said, he said, the louder they come out, I can't wait because I know they're close to their fall. And that's what happens. Okay. Now, look.
He also said if you gave Jerry Falwell an enema, you could bury him in a matchbox.
Well, that's probably true.
But I mean, it was just a great line. But now, obviously, it applies to Falwell's son.
Brian, I mean, honestly, look. Now, I feel this way. I don't know that anybody can sway me, but I certainly listen to opinions. I do believe that you can have a personal morality that is different from your professional morality. Okay? I really do. Now, some people say you can't. Fine, I've got that. What bothers me is when you do either one and preach to others do this. And Falwell is a classic example of that. What Jerry Falwell does in the privacy of his home does not have any effect on me or anyone else. It should not. That's between Jerry and his wife and the other 17 people that seem to be in the bedroom with them. But when he's going to say, or when Donald Trump is going to say, this is the Christian way to do it, they're fucking lying. And then if they're going to say, I mean, can you say hypocrite? I mean, it just drives it to a whole new thing. Now, and you joking, yes, we can, if anybody doesn't know, there's a whole background between me and Stormy Daniels as a writer and she as the actual American hero, and I think she is. But the fact that Donald Trump had sex with Stormy Daniels really only matters to Stormy Daniels and Marla, and Melania and Donald, and Stormy wasn't married at the time until Donald crossed the line. And the line he crossed had nothing to do with sex, and his followers don't get it. It had to do with he was going to pay her off, right? So that the scandal wouldn't break when we still thought there was a scandal that could bring him down. That's where he crossed the line. And I think that's where you see it time and time and time again. Now, I'm not going to say Democrats don't do it. Of course they do. But they don't seem to do it to the degree that Republicans do it.
And Dave, I'm going to stop you there again. And,
right.
It's funny because you're talking about degrees. We're comparing scars. And it's funny because I was looking up some of the names from the past who had affairs. Now, I really couldn't care less what they do, just as long as I'm not paying them any type of money.
By the way, did you ever? I know you had affairs with the Russian hookers, but you never had affairs with any.
No, I've been completely loyal to my wife as she has been to me. But that's beside the point, because tonight this is important. But I will point the finger at the Republicans because I looked at the long list of Republicans. Larry, Craig, in fact, Bob Livingston, the Speaker of the House at the time. He was the one that was going after Clinton all the time. And it turns out his wife was ready to beat him over the head when he found he was with a hooker. He was just indignant. He could not believe that the Democrats would allow Larry Flynt to tear him apart. But he certainly did it to Bill Clinton. Okay, now that's a whataboutism. But again, you're right. It seems as though the Republicans are much more, and they're the ones, besides being more guilty, they seem like they're the holier than thous. The only one that actually kind of laughed it off was Henry Hyde. When they asked him about his affairs, he said, and his affairs when he was in his 50s, he said he blamed it on youthful indiscretions. So I thought that, you know what, I'll give him credit for being funny and being honest. So at least he wasn't lying. But someone like Larry Craig, which, you know, if you think about Larry Craig, if you go back into his history, you start thinking about Lindsey Graham and some of the others. Yeah. So again, there is a difference, a big difference, and especially when you start pointing your finger down at people.
There you are.
That's
Brian.
what bothers me.
That's where you need to start.
So you tell us about that.
It's when the finger comes to others, and you're behaving. And I think a lot of that is because the Republican Party, even with the single worst, most foul president, he makes Nixon, and Nixon has good points about him. One was he resigned. That was a good point. But, Andrew Johnson, I mean, we've had Andy Jackson. We've had some really bad presidents. But Trump also, he's this moral leader. All right. Now, let's take it on the other side. Martin Luther King, anyone who thinks he's not a hero, I'm sorry, he's wrong. But he certainly had a whole series of affairs with Coretta. But the difference is J. Edgar Hoover, while J. Edgar was wearing a dress, comes after him again. That idea of that hypocrisy. And I think part of that is set up that way because Republicans, to run as a Republican, you're supposed to be a moral person, right? So you have to attack those deviants. Well, the problem becomes is a lot of times you kept your own, shall we say, indiscretions, sins, skeletons, whatever words you want to use, in the closet. Bill Clinton, that's between him and Hillary. Again, I think in retrospect, I have to take a mea culpa on that. I don't think I was hard enough on Mr. Clinton, for what he did in terms of Monica Lewinsky. But
and by the way, again, let's put the brakes on that one. And I've always wondered, Dave, what was Bill Clinton thinking? He had everything going for him.
Can I be completely frank on this
show? Sure. If I can just finish it, though. He had everything going. You could say he would have been a great president. He handled Kosovo. He did everything wonderfully. The economy was great. He got some conservative votes. He did kind of bring people together. How do you blow it?
Great choice of words.
It's my naivete, but it really bugs the shit out of me. And again, I'm not coming as
I'm acting like I'm some know-it-all. I'm not. But I've spent, as a reporter, and now a writer again, spent a lot of time around powerful people. Believe it or not, Brian, most powerful people are very insecure. I mean, you see it with Trump. Trump is one of the most insecure people on the planet. Bill Clinton, if you ask me what happened, here's what happened with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was a fat boy from nowhere, Arkansas, right? And, that famous picture of him shaking JFK's hand in what was once the Rose Garden, now Melania's, whatever it was. I think he probably, he wanted to be president. But there's always a part of that fat kid who played saxophone in the marching band. And if people haven't spent any time around two of the things that I have, one was music. You spent time there, and another is politics. Power is an aphrodisiac. It really is. It's an aphrodisiac that works on you, and it also works on other people. And I think Bill Clinton, I said, can I be graphic? What people say, he thought with his little head instead of his big head. Or he thought with his dick instead of his brain, however you want to look at it. And I that certainly has happened to many, many.
Well, I
many of us.
understand that, but I say in
Okay.
his case, it was a bigger mistake than the average person
Yeah,
because
but Brian, it doesn't
he
matter at
had
that point.
destiny on his side.
Oh, I understand all that,
I mean,
but
Barack
is
Obama knew
okay. Barack
the right
Obama's a
thing,
good man. Okay, Barack Obama's
but
biggest sin.
Clinton was a smart man.
That's
Why
different,
couldn't he
though,
put the two plus two together and say, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't do this.
because Brian, he wasn't you. You said earlier we're naive. I don't believe that you're naive. I mean, I do. I call you that all the time. But I
But you
think
see,
you are
it's
a
the
rarity.
stupidity of it. I understand he
Let
wants
me
to
ask you something.
take his power
Let me ask you
and go
something.
with it, but I think when you if you just have some intelligence, you weigh it out and say, you know what,
No,
probably not the right thing for me to
of
do.
course it's not the right thing to do, right?
Gets
But
caught, ruin the
I'm not saying. I'm
presidency.
just saying it was. Look,
Especially because even then the Republicans were after him. He knew what they would do to him.
well, yeah,
That's
and no.
another thing that I didn't bring up, which I
I know.
just
No,
did.
I look.
Okay.
Okay, we don't know. I mean, I do know this. Okay, and I'm not speaking. I'm just speaking as a general person. I was only in Bill Clinton's presence once. It was in It was in a gymnasium in Reno, Nevada. He was speaking on behalf of his wife when she was running for president. And Brian, I've been around a lot of rock stars. I've written about them. I've been around. I've been so fortunate to meet some of my heroes. John. I mean, I sound like I'm name dropping. I'm saying this is what I'm comparing it to. So it's not like this. Bill Clinton had a magnetism that filled up that gym. Okay.
Well, he
Um,
first of all, he's a very good public speaker. He's a good-looking man. Women generally find him very attractive. He has a presence, and
but
he has moved up in his life. So,
but still, Brian, there are times. Okay. Let's get really deep here. You ready? How did you view yourself as a teenager? Were you a sexual dynamo?
no, as a teenager, that's a great question, Dave, because that it gets very complex for me. Because when I was a teenager, I was thinking I would listen to music, but I only thought about hockey. I thought about how do I become a better hockey
Well,
player and do
yeah,
something with that in my life. Now,
right.
right now, anybody who's listening to this would say, that doesn't sound like Brian. To me, I was like any other person, but I wasn't with the jocks. I wasn't with the freaks because
Right.
anybody who grew up in the '70s knows what happened when you were in the cafeteria. The people who were partying all the time, smoked pot, and they were different than your group, Dave, from the '60s. These were guys who just
Oh no,
they
I
were
agree. I agree.
Republicans with denim jacket and long hair. They weren't your liberals. And then you
Oh
had
no,
the
no, no. You're right.
jocks that would hang out with the cheerleaders, and the cheerleaders, for God's sakes, they wouldn't hang out with any of the other females in the school. And then there were the rest of us. This large 60% of the school who you just didn't jump into any one river. You just thought, I'm going to be myself. And I stayed myself, but I found that I didn't like what was around me because it was always a test. So I focused on not being like the rest of the people. So you could say I almost wasted my time in high school.
Well,
I didn't get involved in things.
would you say that your time in high school was more troubling than most other parts of your life as you're coming of age, or not really? And I am going
No,
somewhere
I
with
know.
this.
I'm actually thinking that over.
Well, let me jump in because it's not
No,
about you and I.
let's put it this way, Dave.
Okay. Do you remember? I'm going to use a. It's actually not from Blood, Sweat, and Tears, although people think it is. It was actually by a British romantic poet, William Wordsworth. But child is the father to the man. Now, normally we think of it as father, as man is the father to the child. But what Wordsworth was onto, and Blood, Sweat, and Tears just sold it as a cool saying, is we're so much shaped by who we were. So that brings us back to Clinton. I'm going to submit with everything he had going, with everything you said is true. At that moment, he reverted to that fat boy blowing his saxophone and what he could get or what he needed or what he wanted was there. Now, from what I understand, and I'm not one to say that if a 13-year-old girl says she wants to have sex with you, you should do it. But apparently Monica was relatively willing, and she certainly set her sights on him, right? The president is not going to notice someone unless they're there. So does that make it right? No. But I'm just saying, right? Yeah, I mean, I feel like that.
I'm not even, Dave. I'm not even trying to
more than I should have
dissect the rightness of what he did. Right. I'm just saying the utilitarian aspect.
I understand that.
How do you come to that? I mean, he just throws it all away. I mean,
did he really though?
Yes. What he gave up. What he gave up. Was I think he would have had a relatively peaceful period for the rest of his presidency. The Republicans would have.
I kind of disagree with.
Well, look at what the Republicans tried to do to Obama, and they couldn't do it.
What?
What the Republicans tried to do to Obama.
Right. Oh no! All they did with Obama is block everything.
Blocked everything, right? But they didn't take away his character. They couldn't take away his character. The only thing they ever could say was he wore a brown suit.
Brian, Bill Clinton took away Bill Clinton's character. For those who believe his character was taken away.
Yes.
Obama did nothing that you could take his character from.
Right.
I know
so
you're not
again, I'm just
I mean, it's like look. I tell the people this all the time. Do you really think I would spend this much goddamn time working against Donald Trump? And I mean, I began doing what I thought and believe now was right from the day he came down that gold staircase in his thing. And I knew him from New Jersey. I knew people, I'd follow the casinos. I'd written about him, and not him directly, but, people around him. And Donald Trump's just bad. I mean, he's just bad. Bill Clinton had a weakness for women. Okay?
Well, no. Here, again, Dave, I don't want this to turn into some type of Masterson Johnson type thing, but anybody, I noticed there was a comment there. I don't know who said it. He had a crippling sex addiction.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, well, but Dave, everybody has a certain level of sexual drive, and that doesn't mean that you're just going to acquiesce to it.
Yes, it does sometimes, Brian. If whoever Facebook user is, if it's, I mean, I don't know if it's an addiction. Addictions, if you don't have them, and you don't, you have an addiction to your drone. That's just a play tool.
Okay, now you're getting personal there.
If you have an addiction, Brian, that takes over your life. Okay, so if it was a sexual addiction, I mean, if you could read some really crippling stories, drugs can do it. Now, I don't know about overeating. I mean, it can do that. So, I mean, anything you do.
No, I know there are addictions. Okay, I have no problem with that. I understand that. Again, I just always wondered. I mean, just like when that amendment video about Trump, where he said, okay, Trump said I could get away with it. Whatever he said with Fifth Avenue or whatever. He knows, or he knew that it was wrong. So we know that he knows the difference between right and wrong.
Every woman who's ever had an affair knows it's wrong.
No, again, but you're missing my point. I'm not even talking about whether it's wrong or not. I'm not here to criticize whether it was wrong or not. It's the last thing. We've all done wrong things. My problem with it is completely different, folks. So please.
What is your problem?
My problem with it is that I think, like Jeremy Bentham, that our brain works in a utilitarian fashion of weighing out pluses and minuses. It's utility. And here's a person who has this position, and he completely misjudges and does not look at the, like you would ask your advisor. He knew damn well what would happen if he got caught, and he did get caught.
I want people to understand your mindset, and then we're going to get off this question. So this is my.
It's a Spock type.
Here's what I want you to think of. I don't want you to say a word. I just want you to think for a minute. People, if you don't know Brian, he and his wife Ronnie have one of the truly great relationships that I've encountered in my 68 years on the planet. So we're not casting aspersions here or anything. But Brian, think about in your entire life the most beautiful, sexy woman that you've ever known. Don't say who it is. Don't say it's Ronnie or not say it's Ronnie. I mean, I'm just saying, whoever that is. Now, if you weren't on the air right now and Ronnie were somewhere out of your house and not going to be there for a week, and this person showed up and said, I will give you anything that you want, what would you do?
That would I'll try to give you an answer that will help you understand where I'm coming from. Okay, so let's just so it's gonna be anybody. Okay, if whether it would be Marilyn Monroe came back from the dead,
Yeah, I'm not
got me
saying.
at a bad moment. We all have, like I said, we all have drives. Okay, and I'm like anybody else, perhaps worse
You're not
or
like
better.
everybody
I
else.
don't know what, but my point is that for most of my life, at least after I was in high school, I at least got into this phase where I kept thinking about, okay, pluses and minuses, but I always thought about the future. You do this, what will be the consequence that far down? And I think
Have you ever been arrested?
never. Oh, well,
Right.
I've had problems with police, but I've never been arrested.
Brian, you're always you. The question is, and you know why you haven't? Not for anything.
Well, first of all, I don't take as many risks as most people.
That no, it's not that, Brian. You do the right thing. Okay, I mean that that. I mean, we're not going to get into that, but I'm just saying it doesn't surprise me. But again, that I'm always calling you Mr. Spock because you do have this logical, reasonable side. We will close Clinton with this. If you're looking at it from a logical, reasonable standpoint, Bill Clinton, who I thought there were some problems later, but if you looked at it as the idea of he did what he needed to do to get elected without taking the country down, then he did it. He jeopardized it for a woman. But man, look at Helen of Troy. I mean, whether it's mythical or real. So let's get on. Not that we don't. I mean,
By the way, here's a name from the
and there's
past.
another thing.
Here's another one. But I just want to tell you, here's a perfect example. We knew what happened with Clinton, but Linda Tripp. Just as much as I was angry with Clinton because I was aghast, this piece of shit, Linda Tripp,
Well,
this woman, obviously she felt, as if she had been shunned, and then she tries to obviously
Brian, look.
do the dirty work of the Republican Party.
Problem is, if you simply this, if you do something and you don't know it's wrong, that's one thing. But if you do something you know it's wrong, you're really probably going to get caught, right? And the more often you do it, the more chance there is of getting caught. And this was not the first time Bill Clinton got caught, right? Did perform in the marching band, and I played first chair trumpet. We were really into the music and the football games.
They're talking about music.
Yeah,
They're asking instruments.
I didn't mean
we
to
played.
cast. I was only speaking about Mr. Clinton and his view. He's spoken of that. And so I think Bill Clinton, for all his intelligence, and I think it does relate to Donald Trump. We look at these powerful people, right? And you say, man, they sometimes you say that they must have it together. How they get there, they have the same flaws and many times worse flaws than many of us do. And now I'm going to bring in how do we speak about Biden 2024? We will in a moment. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, for me, it's very simple. Even though I've said you can have a personal morality different than your professional morality, Trump's personal morality and his professional morality stink. They are intertwined. All I know, and it's the reason I was never opposed to voting for Joe Biden, even though I make, again, Elizabeth Warren was my choice going in, is Joe Biden, I think, is a decent man. And I think that basically, all things being equal, I want a decent man over an indecent man or a decent woman in the White House, because I do not think Biden will be a corrupt politician. I don't think Biden will align himself with dictators. So let's see what's up now. Well, one should live their life, kid. Brian, don't leave them up long enough. I'm trying to read them.
All right, here. Is this the one here?
One should live their life, thoughts and actions would be written up in tomorrow's newspaper. I'm going to call you HLS. I hope you don't mind. It's a little shorter than Human Love Solidarity. I love the name, by the way. But yeah, okay. Maybe in an ideal world, and I'm just saying, yeah, that would be great. I wish I had done that. Being a newspaper person, believe me, I know that. But we don't. And Brian, I'm not taking away anything you said. I mean, you should know when you go into the political arena that you're opening yourself up. You should know when you're president, you're opening yourself up. You should know that people are going to use imaginary things against you. Don't give them real things to use. Irrational, yeah, Rudel, you've got it.
Okay, so yeah, well, let's go into what Rudel says there, because yeah, free will is an illusion. I am in agreement with that. Lizard brains, whatever the percentage, yes, it has some.
I mean, we're not a psychological show. We're not a sociological show. I mean, we talk about politics. It all enters in there.
It's all kind of put together, Rudel. So
human beings are very goddamn confusing, because we're neither fish nor fowl. We have intelligence, but we also have emotion.
I guess they're talking about Monica there. Is this Dave?
You get it back?
Yeah, you're here, Dave. What the hell happened?
Okay, just flashed on my screen. Connection was lost. I'm just saying. I'm okay. I just want to make sure you're okay in that.
I'm okay. So, you're okay.
I think again, maybe let's tie it into politics. I don't think you're going to find the perfect person in politics. Do you know why, Brian?
Because everybody has stains. I mean,
there you are. There you are.
I mean, and by the way, Dave, don't put me on a pedestal, because I had my transgressions in my life, or at least at my level, I didn't like what I did.
No, you had your transgressions, but my point is, it's not that. It's the idea of what I was arguing with you on, and would argue forever on, is, you were saying he should have, and I'm saying he wasn't capable of doing that.
And okay, I agree. I am just saying, I look at it from a logical standpoint, because he was intelligent. Here's a guy who was he studied at Oxford, and I know where you're going to go with this. Look, the guy had addictions. You can say what you want. I understand that. I'm just saying he let himself down, because you have to know. For example, if you're running for office, Dave.
Wait a minute. A little judgmental there. You're saying he let himself down. Do you know he let himself down? Do you think he knows he?
I would say it's to me it's apparent that he did.
Keep saying I think. To me, it is. It doesn't matter.
Right, we don't know him unless we
think. It matters what Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton think, and Monica Lewinsky think,
and
Paula Jones thinks.
Dave,
it's the same thing.
Okay, you said yourself, if you're going to become a politician, I mean, they're going to go after you. For sure. Let's just suppose you ran for public office locally. People would try to dig crap on you, crap on me, whatever it is.
Dig very deep.
But my point is, he knew better. You have, if you're going to, and don't forget, that position's more important than your life and your addiction. Look at the man Lincoln was. Depression. Who knows if he was a homosexual or not? But look what he did. He gave his life up.
To newspapers and civil rights than any other living president except FDR. But the reason we like them, and I do too, is the fact that they got us through troubled times. Let's not build Lincoln or any of these people up. They're human beings. They get to be president. They're there. Now, Donald Trump, different caliber person.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's our next point, and this. I don't even know how to explain this. He's so much different than any bad person that we've had in office. I really think he's psychotic. I don't know
Brian,
what the specific psychosis is, but he's got something wrong with him. And he's got something wrong with him that's much
lack of
worse
humanity to begin with.
than most people. And he's a lethal and mortal threat, not only to you and me, not to any. He's a lethal threat to the world, and we all know this. Except
Well,
some people
you can't say
worship
we
this
all know
this
it,
crap.
because that says his supporters know it and actively disregard it. I'm not so sure they know it, all of them.
Well, this could get into this whole idea, Dave, of why people still believe in religion in the 21st century. You look at all the things that went on in the past, and they're believing in something that, the evidence just isn't there. You can say that you have faith, and that's fine. But, like, for example, I was just reading something today. There's never been any proof of which specific pharaoh was during Genesis. Or Exodus. I don't know. I guess Exodus. We don't even know.
Look, I understand that.
If there, it's
well,
just, but it goes on and on and on, these beliefs. And maybe part of it is somebody like, we were just about putting people, I just talked about putting people on pedestals. Maybe we just put the character up there and say, this is what I want him or her to be. I mean, for example, you put Stormy on a pedestal. I mean, she's really smart. She's got big eyebrows and the rest of the thing. So
yeah.
I'm not trying to blame you, but I'm just saying we can all do that, and they're certainly doing it.
Well, yeah, but my point is, you just made a statement that I disagreed with. We all know that, and all I'm saying is, we can't be sure we all know it. Certainly, anyone who's opposed to Trump knows it, but people who support him, but there's only two options there too. They either know it and disregard it, or they don't believe it, or they don't want to know it, or whatever. Now, what was interesting, as you look at this race, I wish, Brian, one of the things I wish we weren't all, and I've always put myself, we're all, I mean, I wish we all weren't so, I wish we all weren't so hypocritical, but even more than that, I wish we weren't also wrapped up in hyperbole. You hear the word awesome all the time.
Correct.
And once we hear those words, it kind of takes it away.
Right. Because then it doesn't seem awesome.
reserved.
It's just right
for when it comes, or this or that. And I think, unfortunately, people have said for a long time, this is the most important election of our lifetime, or this is the most important election you'll ever be involved in. We've heard that before. I'm going to suggest this, if not, it is one of three. Of course, you could make an argument that Washington being elected as the first president, but that really wasn't an election. That was a coronation, right? I mean, it really was. So we can just write it. So now it comes down to I think it's a two presidential
two-horse race,
election.
basically.
Lincoln versus McClellan, second election, 1864. And Bush, no, of course not Bush. Trump, but I do want to get to Mr. Bush later. Trump and Biden. And it's very clear. You and I were talking earlier. We don't talk about the show, but we're talking. And I also threw in there just for consideration, but I don't think it was there. I was talking about something else. I was talking about the most clear difference between the two. I'll go there. I wasn't alive for my first election. Would have been what? I was born in '52. So what would that have been? What the first one I vaguely recall was JFK, Nixon. I mean, just vaguely as a kid. First one I really paid attention to was '68. First one I voted in and worked for was '72. But Goldwater Johnson, it was pretty clear. There wasn't much different, and this is just as clear. But I think Goldwater and Johnson wasn't for the soul of the nation. It was for nuclear annihilation, maybe, which I guess. This it really is. So we kind of cheapened it, and we were all guilty of it. We've said it. Again, I like to repeat things because I know as a teacher, I would say things make you go, what? So again, this is my view. Anybody can disagree with it. I don't care. In an election, and this one or any other one, there's really five choices, okay? And so I'm going to hone it in on this presidential election. You can vote for Donald Trump, the incumbent, right? I think that's wrong, but you can. You can vote for Joe Biden. I think that is the proper choice, as the best choice for America. You can vote third party. You and I differ on this. I believe if you truly believe in your heart that your candidate, whether it's right, left, center, wherever, would do the best job of making America whole again, whatever we need, right? That's fine. But the two groups, the two groups that I really don't get, the fourth group, because I'm reading them, would be the people that don't vote. There's no reason not to vote. And I'm not talking about the pandemic and the virus. I'm just talking, there's no reason not to vote. If you are eligible to vote, you should vote. That is going to affect everything about you. Politics affects everything about you. And the group that will have the least respect for are those who do a write-in. Because the moment you write in, there's no hope. Let's see. Clinton enjoys life. Kennedy had Maryland. Bill got Lewinsky. I don't see where there's a problem. Monogamy is a relatively young social construct. Classic Greeks and Romans knew better. Well, Rudel, the problem is you're right, okay, about antiquity. But this country was founded by a bunch of Puritans.
And not only that, Dave,
so,
I agree with you, Rudel, that essentially from an evolutionary perspective, that's probably correct. But I'll have to beg to differ in the sense that, we don't know what type of contract that Hillary and Bill had. It seems apparent to me that this was not something she had expected or had endorsed. And again, once you make the contract, that's another story. Because now you've got two individuals who have made a promise.
And we keep trying to tie all this into, what's going on. I mean, sometimes it's...
I'm just again, I don't have any problem with anybody saying you can have an open relationship, you can do what you want. And I'm not even saying it's wrong, but... if the other party doesn't agree, well, then now you've got issues that are going to come up, and you have to pay.
But again, let's bring it to a person in the news. Let's bring it to Mr. Falwell. Jerry Falwell wanted to be the moral decider of America, or among the moral deciders. Okay. Again, I don't care what he and his wife and the pool boy and the Potomac High School marching band and the Rolling Stones all together in a room. I don't care about that. What I do care about, and I think we all should, is we shouldn't follow people who can't lead, who are proven to be not worthy to lead. Jerry Falwell, at least, he would have been fired, but at least he had the whatever to resign from Liberty, which was his, big thing.
Well, Dave, I think you would agree with me that with Falwell, he's really a chip off the old block there. I mean, this thing's been going on in the family, and this is an indictment on some of especially the white evangelicals. They play this game, and it sickens me to see how people just buy into this.
It kind of explains, to a certain extent. Now, I'm not saying all white evangelicals are like Jerry Falwell.
Correct. But we've seen a history of this.
A preponderance of that, a cult-like kind of thing, minor cult, not major cult like Trump. And so it doesn't really surprise me so much that they follow Donald Trump, as much as maybe it does some, because they know that what they think they want, they think they really do, Brian. I've talked to a lot of them. They really do think there's a war on Christians. Jesus Christ, how wrong can you be? There's a war on black men. There's a war on people who are Islamic. There's a gender economic war on women where they're not paid where they're Christians. There's no goddamn war on Christians. But
if there's a war, I'd want a war.
Trump plays into them, they play into Trump, and we're off and running. Look, Joe Biden, I don't think is a hypocrite. So I think he is informed by his Catholic faith. All right. I certainly think the last I knew, and I'm sorry, Joe. I mean, I want to go here. It may be tough if you're listening now. I don't think he played golf while his first wife and his daughter were dying. I don't think so. I don't think the story with the first brother who died, supposedly Trump just went to the movies. Now, again, maybe Trump can't deal with emotion. I don't know, but it's just not something you do. And so, and I'm really getting a little tired of people dismissing this. Well, yeah, Joe Biden's a good man, but there's no but after he's a good man. There's no but, because I'll tell you what, on his worst day, he will be arithmetically, uncountably better than Donald Trump would be if he ever had a good day as president. Donald Trump is constitutionally incapable of caring, thinking about anyone other than himself. They say, "Oh, Dave, that's your opinion." No.
Well, we know, Dave, you're absolutely right. We know that Trump is what he is.
Point by point.
But why? Why are we seeing the arrows coming in from the right and in from the left at Biden? As if somehow there's some type of woke, elite, I know more than thou attitude, and they're going to say, this guy, he plagiarizes, he grabs women. They exaggerate every fault in the man, and I find it...
Right, from the right, we dismiss anybody who's on the right. They're going to do it. Not because they do it.
Well, we know it's coming from the left also.
I'm just... let me deal with it. All right? Now, it's not coming from every Republican.
No.
I think they're up to 71 Republicans who held or currently hold office are endorsing it. And they're doing more than endorsing. They're working for. So there are people that recognize that country is more important than party. That characteristics, I sound like I'm defeating my own argument.
That's fine.
I said you have, the different, but I think what I want to say here, so, I mean, I'm kind of coming back to that. Donald Trump's bad moral character aligns with the bad decisions and things he does as president. So he is aligned. Joe Biden's good moral character aligns with what he tries to do, so he is aligned. Now, is he as far left as the left wants? No, absolutely. We've been doing this for months now, Brian. I've been doing it for years.
Well, if they watch the Republican convention, they might actually believe he's far left.
Who?
If the far left, who didn't like the Bernie bros, would just turn on the TV, watch Fox, and you'll see what they say about Joe Biden. They'll say essentially he's going to make this a Bolshevik nation.
Well, no. What's interesting is the extreme left. I mean, communism is kind of a dead idea, but they you know why they don't want Joe Biden? Okay, let's use your Bolshevik. I think that's great. Okay, here we go. And we'll come back, HLS, in a moment to you. Here's what you got. You've got the right that does believe, right? The right that does believe that Biden is going to bring in the Bolshevik revolution.
That's propaganda. That's like, Hitler's Germany.
Shut up for a minute.
Okay, but I'm just saying that they know that it's not Bolshevism.
I'm talking about what they believe, right?
No, I'm talking about your neighbors. Yes, your old neighbors and your Facebook.
What they believe.
Do you think that Trump actually believes that Biden's a Bolshevik?
I think Donald Trump believes that Donald Trump is the only person capable of leading America. He doesn't have
Right,
anybody
I'm
else.
just saying,
Talk about-
these propagandists like Stephen Miller, they know damn well he's a centrist Democrat.
We're not talking about. I'm talking about the voters, Brian. The
Yeah,
voters.
well, they're yes, the people
Yeah.
like on
So
our
just
Facebook
listen to what I'm saying.
pages, right?
Now, you on the left, they're
Which
upset
doesn't say
that
much for
Biden
them,
isn't.
too.
What the extreme left is upset that Biden isn't going to bring in some type of revolutionary government.
They don't know that, though. That's the thing. We don't
Yeah,
know.
based on past history.
I mean, as far as climate change, Biden will, he'll move to where he has to survive. He's not a stupid man.
Look, I want to respond to HLS because I think it's very important. Now, I'm speaking directly to you, HLS, because you're there, but I'm speaking to everybody, and there are millions, not just a couple isolated who feel like you do. And I really can't, I can't make you do what I'm going to do or see what I'm going to see. All I can say is this. Bernie Sanders had some really, really, really great ideas. I was for Bernie in 2016. I wasn't against him in 2020. What I was thinking is, in fact, okay, I was thinking two things. One was, I think Elizabeth Warren had enough of his characteristics, but more of a chance of maybe winning. They appear to be somewhat friendly and cordial. I think they exchanged some ideas. And I think Bernie's role is different. I really do. And he seems to have accepted it. Bernie, Brian, you spoke earlier as like being an outsider. Remember when you said that? And there's some people that should remain outsiders. And Bernie is going to have a tremendous influence the rest of his time in government, maybe more than he would be as president, right?
Right, because they would battle. Because again, you're negotiating with many different parties.
If you're inside, you're co-opted, which you kind of are by the system, right?
Right.
But Bernie's not president, and he's got this coalition. Again, that's part of it. So I'm not disparaging your candidate. I think it's great. I think he's a great man. I think he's great for America. We don't know if he could have been elected president. I think there is some validity to the fact that he was railroaded in 2016 because of the, the special delegate situation and all that. I don't think he was railroaded in 2020. I'm sorry, I don't. You may. That's fine. That's just a disagreement. But I have to ask you this. Everybody who is not going to vote for Biden because he's not Bernie. In other words, if you would have voted for a Democrat, but you're not going to vote for Biden, it's this. I would hope that all of us can look beyond ourselves, and it's hard to do, and say, okay, I think Bernie would have been best for me. I think he would have been best for America, but he ain't there. Which candidate running, if you can't get a third party person, which candidate running is best for all of those, maybe not me, but for the rest of America? Now, I will say this, and please, if you disagree, please do so. You can send me a message on Facebook if you don't want to make it public. You can put it up here. I would say this. I think that Donald Trump is good for the following people: fake Christian evangelicals, old white men, the rich, the new hate groups like Rowdy Boys, the Klan, the old hate groups like the Klan, police and authority figures who misuse their power, the women who love those kinds of people, all those groups I mentioned, and the rich. Okay. Well, I think Joe Biden is better for every other category out there. And those categories make up America to me. They really, really do. So I have no problem. I can understand I can understand if you're on the right, if you're, but if you notice again, even the right, if you talk about the right being Republican and the left being Democrats, which is basically that wasn't ordained by fiat, it's just the way it came out to be. So if you're on the right, centrists on the Republican Party are coming to Joe Biden. Centrists in the Democratic Party are already there. Again, I'm the first one to say don't follow your leaders, follow your own conscience. But I would say I don't know of an elected, and I'm going to be wrong because when I say I don't, so notice I said I don't know of one, right? The most radical in terms of how people define them, AOC, the Squad, Bernie, Elizabeth, they are all backing Joe Biden, right?
And are they going to call those people sellouts? And I mean, you're just going to go on down the line, and eventually everybody's going to be a sellout to you.
I'm going to go this way. If you're going to win in politics, there is no person who hasn't sold out something. I've said it again and again and again, and I will continue to say it. The art or the need of politics is to be a statesperson and to be able to compromise. The difficulty of that is not to lose your soul and your morals and what's really important. And that goes for, I think AOC is phenomenal as a young person.
Dave, you want to answer that question? It's pretty easy to answer that one.
The question is, why do we go to war with Iraq? You got it, Brian, and I'll...
Look, because the evidence wasn't there, but they tried to throw it out there. They made Colin Powell embarrass himself. They trumped up some bullshit, and this is why people went along with it, because they thought they were protecting the country. Once they found out it was bullshit, most of them fell in line. But that's George, and this is where George Bush gets off the hook, because, what a horrible president he was. If we weren't talking about Trump, this guy would have been the worst had it not been for Trump. Mm-hmm. So this is a guy that, this is Dick Cheney. But again, I'm not applauding Joe Biden for, sending troops into Iraq. But the point is, once they figured out it was bullshit, because sometimes you have to go with your advisors. And it's a shame because they hoodwinked us. And these were Republicans who did it. This is and the types that we have now really come out of the Dick Cheney mold. So I'm not making excuses for him, but I'm just saying exactly what it was. And again, you're not negotiating with one party here. You're not negotiating with yourself. And there's a lot involved that even they don't even know about. Because they don't have the president's advisors.
Okay.
Was that good enough, Dave?
No. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm going to say my theory of why we went to a war with Iraq is three. Misinformation. Well, how do we get that misinformation? That leads us to Dick Cheney. That war was economic. Look and see who made money in that war. No question about that.
Halliburton.
Exactly. Okay, that was Halliburton's war. And George W. Bush, I don't excuse him for this. He had daddy issues, right?
Wasn't it like Grenada anyway, Dave? They just wanted to pick on somebody that they could point a finger at.
The problem becomes, you want to know if you shouldn't have...
Impatience. It's like being in line at McDonald's and you're waiting 3 minutes and it's too long. They went, okay, this guy goes out.
But here's the thing, though, Brian, too. If you really wanted to go with the country, you shouldn't do this, that was most responsible for 9/11, what country would that be in your estimation?
Saudi Arabia. And that was what and by the way, Dave, this is one thing. One of your good friends, rest in peace, Howard Furtek. The very first day I met Howard Furtek, this is a teacher, by the way, folks, Dave and I. Dave was a very good friend of his. He's from the 60s, long hair. He came up to me one day. First time I met him. This is before 9/11. And Howard, I kid you not, said to me, he introduced himself as, I don't trust Saudi Arabia. I think they get away with murder. He kept going on and on about it.
And literally now, if you look at Khashoggi, who let them get away with that murder? Donald Trump. So I mean that doesn't
Right.
change, right? I saw something up there, and we need to talk about that.
Well, this is
Police,
Gary with police
no,
shooting.
police shootings.
Right.
I would refer. I'm not going to make any comments on it, not because I don't want to. I don't want to take time because it's the most important, one of the most important issues in America. If you want to know how I feel, I posted Brian on the Facebook page. I'm beyond appalled. It's beyond enough is enough. If I were a black American, I would feel justified 100% in following Malcolm X's exhortation to stop it by any means necessary.
Can I just show this for a second, Dave? I think
Sure.
our viewers should watch this. This is well worth watching. It's only a few minutes, but I thought she was very eloquently.
Oh, she
spoke
was.
for
She
them.
was. She was
Yes.
great.
I am my brother's keeper.
Oh, for Christ's sake!
The idea was.
Yeah, Dave, you'll have to hold on. Hold on for a second. I want to make sure the volume's here.
She
Hold on,
did
Dave.
something that's
Okay.
pretty amazing, right? I mean, she wasn't hate-filled. She just. But look. You can be supportive of constructive activities by police and be appalled by murderous policemen. They're not mutually exclusive, right? We do not live in a society that we have to have some form of policing. I wish somebody had called me. They didn't, and I don't know it all, and I might have made the same wrongness. I wish we had not used the term defund the police. Should have been reform the police. And one of the, just reform the police. They need to be reformed. Now, this latest incident, look, I don't care what the guy did. I don't care what Mr. Blake did. So you're rushing to judgment, Dave. No. I can't conceive of anything an unarmed man can do that deserves 7 shots fired at him. Now, maybe we'll find out there was. I don't think. And the other problem is, if I don't, as a white person, I don't believe what the police say in these investigations. So why should a black American believe it?
Right. Dave, I would like to try one more, and I swear I will not go on
And
again
I'll
if
cut
this
you off
doesn't
if you
work.
Get it wrong. Go.
Okay, because they don't. Okay.
And when you say the name Jacob Blake, make sure you say father. Make sure you say cousin. Make sure you say son. Make sure you say uncle. But most importantly, make sure you say human. Human life. Let it marinate in your mouth, in your minds. A human life. Just like every single one of y'all and everywhere around the world. We're human. And his life matters. So many people have reached out to me telling me they're sorry that this happened to my family. Well, don't be sorry, because this has been happening to my family for a long time. Longer than I can account for. It happened to Emmett Till. Emmett Till is my family. Philando, Mike Brown, Sandra. This has been happening to my family. And I've shared tears for every single one of these people that it's happened to. This is nothing new. I'm not sad. I'm not sorry. I'm angry. And I'm tired. I haven't cried one time. I stopped crying years ago. I am numb. I have been watching police murder people that look like me for years. I'm also a Black History minor. So not only have I been watching it in the 30 years that I've been on this planet, but I've been watching it for years before we were even alive. I'm not sad. I don't want your pity. I want change.
The question that we charge America with.
Okay, I think that pretty
How
much.
many more examples?
Yeah. Okay.
of police
That says
brutality
it.
do we
What I
need
will say,
to
I don't want to put
effectuate
words
change?
when you get that thing. It's
Right.
called
Okay, go ahead.
stop, right? All I want to say is I am going to, it's been going on. If you remember the line she said, it's been going on longer than I can remember. I'm going to put an actual number on that. It's been going on for 401 years in America when the first Africans were brought here as slaves. Now, and I'm not going to play that game. Is it better? Is it worse? Well, let me ask you something. Is it better to live and pick cotton or worse to be hanged in the 1920s? I mean, you're just look. America has never lived up to the words equality. They haven't. I think what upsets me even more, if I could be more upset, if the murderers, and there's no other way to describe them, they're not police officers. They are, but they're murderers, and they get away with it. They get away with it.
Isn't that what Trump
Now,
said? I can
what?
get away with it because they feel they can get away with it.
Oh, they can't. And there's a lot of things that need to be changed. My fear is, and I'm just saying is that generations will have no respect for policemen. But right now, I understand why they don't. I think, and I know, again, as a reporter who used to cover the crime beat, there are good cops, mediocre cops, and horrible cops.
Right.
The problem is there are some jobs where if you're horrible, if you're a horrible, and I'm not putting these people down, they're very important, but if you're a horrible cooker of hamburgers in McDonald's, yeah, Banksy's kind of got that right, doesn't he? But the idea of it is, maybe somebody gets sick of your food, but whatever. But say, move it to another level. If you're a horrible teacher, you affect a lot of the future. But if you're a horrible police person, apparently you can kill people with impunity. And I don't get it, Brian. You were talking, I'm going to play Brian Weinstein for a moment. You were talking about, I don't get it with Bill Clinton. I don't get it with police officers.
There you go. Great. That's a great analogy. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, you're being watched. There's video cameras out there. It ain't the old days, right? It's not the fucking wild.
And thankfully, we have video cameras finally. It's not going to be the answer, but at least now people can see with their own eyes what's been going on.
Good cop, bad cop, figuratively or literally. What I will say is, for America to be America that it should be, we're going to have to figure out a way to weed out as many police officers who are going to be bad as you can.
Right.
I don't think they one day turn bad. I really don't. I think there's a whole history.
Right. And Dave, can we... Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know what's going on with the volume, but I want to make this point, whether it's the police or whether it are people like Trump. People say that money corrupts people. And my suggestion to you, Dave, or to anybody else is, I think that's not true. I think these people were corrupt prior to their money, prior to the uniform being on.
I don't disagree with that. I think what people say with money and power, they say no. I kind of go. I very much go along with this. I kind of look at it this way. It's nothing original with me, but whoever, and I don't know who said it originally. I don't know if it's even attributable to anyone, but money and power don't corrupt you. They just reveal who you really are.
Correct. There we go. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
No, but that's true.
Sorry about the volume there.
Look, HLS. I'm going to go with one of the worst decisions the Supreme Court has made was basically around corporations and money. The idea that a corporation is a voice, it's not. I'm sorry. I just want to touch that just real quickly. People think the Supreme Court decisions are handed down, on stone tablets chiseled in. They're not. They've been overturned. A 5-4 vote does not mean it means on that particular day, 5 people thought, if it was always legal, right? Always under the law has to be interpreted. Every vote at the Supreme Court would be 9-0, right? the law is the law.
Right.
But the law is always open to interpretation. Before I forget it, because Brian has a well, can I tell him, Brian? Years
Whatever
ago,
you're going to
before he was
say,
married-
it's either going to be mirth or it's going to be.
Now, this is important to say, and then I have another even more important point.
So once
We have
Dave
to
gets serious,
we have
you
to
know
cut
he's
the
not
show. We have
serious.
to cut the show tonight. We really have to get it done for Brian.
Yes,
Long
we have
before
12
he was married
minutes
to
left.
Ronnie, he did, as he's mentioned, he spent a lot of time in Russia.
And the Soviet
he's a
Union.
free
Let's
young
just say the
man,
Soviet Union.
And there he contracted a disease that he's been dealing with.
Stupidity.
It's, not anything that you would want to have. And he has to take treatments at a certain time. And tonight, the treatment must be taken at 10:03. So we have that. Now, Rich love Biden, tolerate Trump. They win either way. Progressives and unions, their natural enemies, are already defeated.
That's too generalized, Rudel. That's too generalized.
And you know what? Okay, I was going to say this, but I'm going to say not to you. Not. I have said to Rudel, but I've said to Rudel. I don't buy this. We're all fucking defeated. What the fuck is that? You know when you're defeated? When you're dead. Okay? Now that sounds pretty presumptuous, but no, seriously. You're not done until you're dead. You know? And today is not tomorrow. And this pandemic, more than maybe, and definitely anything in my lifetime, more than the Vietnam War, you could even make an argument more than the atomic bomb. I don't know what, certainly more than 9/11, not to degrade any of that. Maybe, yes, slavery for black people and, that kind of, but I'm saying overall for all of us, this pandemic's changed the whole game. This ain't the game. I don't care what your rules were before. The pandemic is in charge now. And we're going to have to make decisions, all of us, based on that pandemic, including Joe Biden. But you know who doesn't make rules based on the pandemic? Donald fucking Trump. Now, did he kill 170,000 plus Americans? No, he did not. Is he complicit in that total number of deaths? Absolutely. Why? There's a whole history out there of why. I'm not going to go into it.
And we're not done yet either.
Oh, I know. But anyway, what I do want to do, Brian, though, seriously, last week, somebody I thought raised a very interesting point. And I said I would answer it. And I don't know if you remembered, I said I would answer it 10 times in 10, not 10 different ways. They said, what concerns you, meaning me or you, the most about the election in terms of how how it could be unfair. So I actually did some research on it. And I found a very, very concise article. No one article should do it all, but this kind of does collect the best of. Mm-hmm. It's by Jeremy Stahl. It was in Slate. And what Jeremy did, very enterprising reporter, he polled around and he found 10 things, events, or plans that could kind of undermine the vote, if you will. And the article was headlighted. The 10 scariest election scenarios, and then getting a group of experts, political scientists around the country, they rated them. So we'll start tonight with number 10, and the best way to describe it, I think, is the way Jeremy kind of put it into his words. He called it election apportionment switcheroo. So what does that mean? All right. For those of you who don't understand, it's a very complex issue. But basically, you don't vote for the president directly in a republic. You vote for electors who then elect the president. Am I correct in that, Brian?
Correct.
All right. Now, those electors are chosen by the 50 states. Now, 48 states pretty much have the rule that if you win the state, right, you win all the electoral votes.
Correct.
But there are 2 states that do not. One is Maine and one is Nebraska. And legally, that's not the only way to do it. There is another way. You can make it by congressional district. So say a state had 14 congressional districts, Trump wins 8, Biden wins 6. That's exactly the number of electoral votes they would get. Now, what the switcheroo would be is in some states, you could do legally what Wisconsin, or I'm sorry, what Maine, damn, Maine and Nebraska do. And the states that they were looking at were Texas and Florida, right? If you did that, Joe Biden would have no chance, I don't think, of winning either state. Winner take, that kind of thing, because that would add votes, that kind of thing.
Right.
However, both those states, while they are swing states, basically, as Jeremy and the political experts said, they're still considered Republican states.
Dave, don't forget, we're going to have to pick this up too if you've got 10 there, okay? Just want to warn
No, I'm
you.
only doing one a night.
Oh, okay.
Listen.
Got you.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, look, I won't tell everybody how you fucked up prior to the show.
Things in your goddamn ears. You got them on?
I was calling this guy Jethro Bodine earlier. I felt like Uncle Jed.
Jesus Christ, listen.
Boy, someday I'm going to have a long talk with you. Okay. But Dave, for Christ's sake, I just fell off a cliff again.
Shut up. Now, see, we're doing like
Oh, no,
Republicans.
got you. Go ahead.
They
Go
said
ahead.
there were- What?
Go ahead.
In your own words, now we'll see if you were listening. What was I talking about when I said election?
Apportionment?
Which?
Switcheroo. So you're talking about Florida and Texas could do the same thing, and other states might follow the same route as, say, Maine, and they decide that they're going to go by the congressional districts, which means Biden would get screwed in a lot of cases.
Yes, especially. They looked at that and they said, especially Wisconsin and North Carolina, which he's projected to definitely win Wisconsin and North Carolina. But why that was rated 10th and least likely, two things. There's not enough time, right, to really switch them.
The Supreme Court.
And secondly, both Wisconsin and North Carolina have Democratic governors who could veto it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a possibility. Hey, Keith. Welcome. I should know. Let me try something. It's 9:53, 10:50. It's 11:53 in the morning in Australia. If I got it down finally, my son, daughter-in-law.
Yes, should be 11:53 in the morning. Depending on where he is in Australia, too. They have different times.
Well, that's true. So anyway,
Dave,
Brian,
I did want to ask one last question, and I put it out there for everybody. Maybe it's not even a question, but with this major hurricane that is supposed to hit Louisiana and perhaps Texas, so watch out, Anthony. It's supposed to hit 1 a.m., actually early Thursday morning, and we know Thursday is when Trump speaks the last day of the convention. You know how Trump is. He hated what happened in Tulsa. So now, if there's a major hurricane and then all the news and the media starts focusing around what's happening, if it's a really, let's suppose it goes to a category 4 or 5. I don't think it will, but if it does,
no, they don't think it. But right, it could. We don't.
That's something that the Republicans. Oh my God, could you imagine how pissed off he would be?
Well, the other thing is, and we're way out here in conjectures. But look, it's been said by people far smarter than I am, by writers who are far better than I am, almost where it is a cliche. You couldn't have written a script that anyone would have believed for 2020. You just couldn't have, right? And now, when you're talking about natural, there is an asteroid that will pass Earth. It's only the size of a refrigerator, but could hit Earth the day before the election. I mean, what are the chances? So we're in a pandemic. We've got a pandemic which Trump treats as whatever the hell it is, not seriously. We're in an environmental crisis. I'm sorry. It is climate change. 97% of the scientists on the earth say that we're changing. The only thing they differ on is the severity of the change. From doom and gloom, we're done, down to if we don't do something within X number of years. Mm-hmm. Certainly 2 hurricanes in the Gulf, never been in recorded history. They didn't pan out, the first hurricane. And what does Trump care about? Nothing. Trump fires burning out of control in California. And what does he say? Clean the forest floor and vote for me, and maybe I will do this. Look, the world is in trouble from forces we cannot control. Nature wins every single time. It won before man was here or humans were here. It will win after humans.
And that's
are
what
gone.
Guy McPherson says. Nature bats last, and that's what it's going to be.
Always a guy. Not, Guy's a very smart person, and not because I agree with him on this. He's just a very smart person, but he's right. So, but what I will say is, we need leaders, maybe more desperately than even we did in the Civil War with Abraham Lincoln, or we did with FDR in World War II, because I think the threats, I know they're as great, and they may be greater because they do come from nature, not just man. And ladies and gentlemen, as far as I'm concerned, Donald Trump is the last person
You're here.
I would want in charge of anything, and he's proven his total incompetence for the job. As Michelle Obama said, it is what it is. I would also say, but that's not it. I'm just not voting against Donald Trump. I'm saying possibly, maybe, no, we're not going to use divine intervention here, but for those who are disenchanted and dissatisfied and worried, that Bernie didn't get it, or Pete Buttigieg didn't get it, or Elizabeth Warren didn't get it, or Cory Booker didn't, or whatever. I do think Joe Biden has a damn good chance of handling the problems that any human being could handle in this pandemic. So, this is not it is a partisan thing, but we just speak ourselves. So, Brian, I go to bed at night, two things. I'm very comfortable that Joe Biden is the Democratic nominee. And if I go to bed tonight, I'm very comfortable. If none of these 10 scenarios, we just dismiss one, come true, or something we can't envision, that Joe Biden will defeat Donald Trump, not necessarily on November 3rd, because we might not know the votes, but Joe Biden will be sworn in January as the 46th president of the United States.
I'll just say, David, thank you, and I hope you are right, because if you're not right, we're all
but Brian,
screwed.
that wasn't going to be my last comment. You're right, and I've thought about that. I'm going to go and run away. No. You know what we're going to do, Brian?
Do it in 20 seconds, okay?
I know. I'm going to say it in 20 seconds. No, I don't listen to your wife. You have to listen to your wife. Your wife put the.
You listen to your wife. You would have had your keyboard 10 years ago.
But here's the thing, Brian. There's never a guarantee of winning. The honor is in the fight. If Donald Trump wins, we're just going to have to fight harder.
And we will on Divided We Stand. So, folks, make sure that you tune in, you subscribe, you become a member. Please, let's do this together, because we're a lot better than we are alone. So have a great night, everybody. Dave, I'm sorry. I want to thank the person who has nothing better to do on a Tuesday night.
And could somebody please get this woman behind me to shut up? She's still screaming.
I don't know what she's doing. Is she actually screaming?
Well, yeah. It's either that or she's having an orgasm.
I don't know what she's doing. But maybe she is screaming.
No, it's louder than that, Brian and Schiller.
On that note, we're leaving, folks.
Bye, kids.